I probably should do an official one.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Welcome everyone to the Second Floor Experience. If you listened to a few episodes ago with Coach Carter, I talked about, I referred to someone with a Theodore Roosevelt build, and we are honored to have him in the flesh today. This is Brandon. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm going to go through kind of your accomplishments real quick. You're an owner of a Taekwondo school in Round Rock called Round Rock Taekwondo.
Yep.
You're 7th degree Taekwondo black belt. You just got your black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and you're a orange belt in Judo.
That's right.
So that's your martial arts. You're the business. You're the owner of Round Rock Taekwondo. You're a foster dog dad.
Yeah.
Dog foster dad.
And I have 3 dogs myself too.
And you have 3 dogs yourself.
Dang, dude.
Permanent residence.
Yeah.
2 kids, wife, married for 18 years. And you had a brief stint in the facial hair club.
Yeah. Austin Facial Hair Club.
Austin Facial Hair Club. Wow. Well,
Dude, that is quite the record.
that's quite the resume.
Yeah. Thanks.
So humble, dude. And you got the flip-flops on. I always heard that, like when I first was a white belt, I saw this meme where it was like white belts wear shirts that's like, jiu-jitsu or like Gracie jiu-jitsu or like whatever school you go to. And you're like walking around like,
no fear.
Yeah. And then like black belts just wear like a tank top or something or like jeans and like a flip-flops.
Yeah.
And he walked up here today. I was like, yeah, that's a black belt for sure. For sure.
That's so funny.
What is that? Like, what's behind that?
I don't know. I think like,
as a black belt, do you know?
I think Carter was wearing flip-flops.
Man,
He was. Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was dressed almost exactly like you.
That's
he had
funny.
jeans, flip-flops, and a collared shirt. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's just ease for me. Yeah. I'm like on a map most of the time. So
That's true.
yeah.
It's just practical.
That's what it is. I bet that's what it is.
I think that's,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so funny.
So I'm really interested in your kind of like your career in martial arts.
Okay.
And then sort of like some stuff that we've talked about with your experience at church. But for people that maybe don't know you, could you kind of give us like a background introduction? Like, where'd you grow up? What was your family life like? How'd you meet your wife? Kind of just give us the intro.
Yeah, sure. So, I was born and raised in Austin.
Okay.
And so, I lived here my whole life. And, grew up, was homeschooled with my brothers, and, basically just did a lot of little sports, baseball. We started martial arts when we were young, was involved in the church pretty, a whole lot during the week growing up, like twice on Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays type of thing.
Okay,
Yeah, pretty involved. And, in 96, when I was 10, my mom had signed us up for karate classes in the summer. And she just figured it was just going to be like 6 weeks karate.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep my kids busy, be done with it. And here we are today, 28 years later. And
Never stopped.
Right, it never stopped. My mom actually owned a Taekwondo school for 4 years in the early 2000s.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
And I taught the classes there, but yeah, she owned a school. It was right across the street from where Cooper's is right now.
No way.
Yeah.
How did she get to just owning a school like that? That's crazy.
Well, my whole family, when we started training in Taekwondo, my parents signed up too.
Oh, okay.
And so like my dad, my brothers, and we got our black belts on the same day.
No way.
And my mom was a couple months later because she tore her ACL while she was sparring me.
No.
Yeah.
What?
And she like did a spin kick and her foot planted and her body kept going. She rehabbed it. She ended up being okay and
That's crazy.
kept training, got her black belt eventually, and we all taught. And it just came up for sale, and that's something that she was doing at the time, and I was already teaching, and so I kind of became like one of the instructors there.
So she bought it in the early 2000s. She had it for 4 years?
Yeah, 2004 to 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were teaching. Wow. So what was the transition from like karate to Taekwondo?
So we started. I think the program's called ASK, Austin Society of Karate, and I think the guy's still in town. The head instructor, Greg Beaver, and he was just teaching around Austin at the time, but he didn't have his own like brick and mortar store, so he'd go around to different high schools in the area and different YMCA's, and he'd teach like one class a week at that location. Mm-hmm. But he did that at like 20 places a week. Would teach a class at like 10 a.m. during the summer, and then go to another place at noon, teach another class, go to another place at 4, and go to another place at 6. So sometimes he was teaching like 4 places a day. Had basically zero overhead, but he would have like 40 students at every class.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
That's
so
crazy.
He did that for a bit. And in 99, a friend of mine had started Taekwondo, and she was telling my mom about it. And my mom was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, we were kind of already doing karate. And she said, "Yeah, it's, in its own place, and you can go 6 days a week." Because we were only training once a week. Mm-hmm. And so that was like a big thing. Like, I can send my 3 boys who are literally at home with me all day long
True.
to class 6 days a week. So that was a big thing. So we transitioned to Taekwondo in 99, and then just stuck with that ever since.
How popular was Taekwondo at the time?
It was getting more popular, right? So there weren't like a ton of schools in the Austin area at that time. When my parents first started signing us up for martial arts, I think maybe there was a dozen martial arts schools in the Yellow Pages. Because that's what we did. We looked through the Yellow Pages to find martial arts schools.
Wow.
And there was like a jiu-jitsu school. And the instructor was a purple belt, which knowing now, I'm like, purple belt's kind of legit, especially if you're the only purple belt in town.
Yeah.
Dude. But looking at that, it's like, well, there's a black belt teaching karate, or there's a purple belt teaching jiu-jitsu. And back then we were like, let's go to the black belt.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we did. And so that's kind of, we actually lived close to, where Westwood High School is? Like 620, 183, like pretty close to here, actually.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
The Taekwondo school was in Pflugerville.
Oh,
so it was like half an hour drive.
Yeah.
And there was probably some schools like on the way there. We just didn't know about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
But the school had only been open like 4 months when we joined. So like our instructor was like the only black belt at the school. I think the next highest belt had like earned his like green belt or orange belt or something like that. So he was pretty low level still. Yeah.
Wow.
Dang. Is that so you teach now, right? Like you're an instructor. Is that like your main occupation?
That's what I do.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
So like at what point, because you're in martial arts from a super young age, so at what point was it like, did you think, this is what I'm going to do?
I remember my karate instructor was great, but my Taekwondo instructor was a lot closer to my age. And I think because of that, and just watching like how much he made an impact on me even that first day. After that first class, I was like, I'm going to get my black belt in Taekwondo from this guy.
Dang.
And then once I got my blue belt, and my instructor's brother was a black belt, and he lived in South Austin, but he was visiting Pflugerville, and he was assisting with class, but he wasn't like an instructor. He was just assisting. So I asked my instructor after class, like, I noticed your brother was helping with class, but he's not an instructor. And he's like, oh yeah, you can help with class too.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh man, it was such like a thing, like I can help with class. Like that was a big deal. And so I started assisting like with the kids.
So how old were you at this point?
When I was a blue belt, I was 14.
Okay.
So I was like helping like the young kids.
Yeah.
Right. And once I got my black belt, I tested for my instructor or like assistant instructor. Mm-hmm. And I knew then I was like, I I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I was like 15 at the time when I got my black belt in Taekwondo.
Dang.
And I think I saw an ability to be able to do that because my instructor in Taekwondo was homeschooled and he was teaching full time. I was like, dude, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And come to find out, my instructor's instructor also homeschooled his kids. It was like this weird thing, right? I don't know. But then I got hired when I was 16 at a different Taekwondo school to start teaching classes because I'd met another instructor at some event or something like that. And he was looking for an employee. And so my first job was teaching Taekwondo.
Wow.
In 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've basically been teaching ever since.
Dang, dude. Can I ask?
Yeah.
What your experience was like being homeschooled growing up?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Or
I did. My brothers and I spent a lot of time together. No breaks from the brothers. No breaks from mom. Dad. Now I look back, I'm like, Dad got to go to work every morning.
Get out of there.
Yeah, he got out of there every day. And man, my mom is a saint. Dude, growing up with us three boys was not easy at all. When my wife and I found out we were going to have our son, our second born, she cried for a second. She's like, I'm going to have a two-wee boy, because she had heard the stories about when we were kids and just how rambunctious we were and how
your wife cried.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
She knew what was coming.
So do you guys homeschool now or?
No,
or
we homeschooled our daughter for kindergarten, right?
Okay, yeah.
And she's 14 now, but she goes to another school.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did homeschool for a few years of my life, and then my brothers, or a few of my other siblings, did it for much longer than I did. But so I know the world a little bit. I know what it's like.
Man, I was homeschooled from first grade through high school.
Dude,
The whole
that's crazy, man. That's
thing.
crazy.
My brothers, they did not quite as long. They went to normal high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so are you the firstborn?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It seems like now homeschooling is becoming more popular, at least from what I've seen.
COVID,
I think so.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of went that route after COVID or during COVID.
Yeah, my youngest brother is just graduated this year, and he was homeschooled from probably first or second grade. Yeah, pretty young too. So,
Really?
yeah, Levi.
Huh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, probably a lot less resources back in 2000.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think
So
about that.
I graduated in 2003. So I was homeschooled in the 90s. And so it was way different back then. And all my
was 5
friends.
years old,
Right?
when you graduated.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
That's wild.
Hate to make you feel
Make
old.
me feel so old.
You look great though, dude.
Yeah, when you
thanks.
told me your age, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You don't look 40.
Well, I'm almost 40.
Almost 40.
Yeah, almost 40.
Yeah, hold on, dude.
Sorry,
Yeah, hold on.
Sorry.
Not there yet.
Threshold yet.
Right?
Dang.
Okay, so you fall in love with Taekwondo. You're like, this is what I want to do. First of all, that's kind of crazy. That as a 15, 16-year-old, you were like, yeah, I'm completely fine with this being the only thing I do.
Well, I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's fun to just move. I love doing jujitsu too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's what better way to make a living? It doesn't feel like work.
Dude,
right?
that's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're telling us your schedule's you teach classes from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
every day. So you have most of the day to yourself or to the business. I'm sure you do things for the business too.
Sure. Yeah.
Here and there. You get to go to the gym, to train,
Yep.
hang out with your kids.
And I get home a little late in the evening. So,
Yeah.
I eat dinner with my wife at 8:45,
Right.
9 or so.
Yeah.
But, that's our schedule. We've been pretty used to it by now.
Is your wife a stay-at-home mom or?
She is. She comes up to the business and she'll help out a couple days a week. She'll
Nice.
do the admin stuff. And,
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
she answers the phone calls. Anytime we get an inquiry, she responds to emails. So she does a lot of the admin stuff.
Okay.
Orders gear and stuff that we need to sell to our students and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
she basically holds the business together, and I just like stand on the mat and like tell people what to do.
Yeah. You're the face of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was the sort of transition from, okay, you're 16, you got your first full-time job teaching, you got your black belt, to owning a school yourself and running it?
Yeah. So I started working in 2002, and in about 2 years' time, that's when that school ended up coming up for sale. And I was still training in Pflugerville. So I was volunteer teaching in Pflugerville, and I was like basically getting paid to teach in North Austin. And in 2004, that school in North Austin came up for sale, and my mom was like, "Is this something you want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can do this." And she was already kind of like teaching classes also in Pflugerville, and like kind of handling some like, some of the business stuff too. So she kind of knew what to do on that end. And so yeah, she bought the school. I taught most of the classes, and kind of went from there. And then in 2008, got burned out with the business part of Taekwondo, like just basically owning the business.
Yeah.
And I was really young, in my early 20s. I just got married, been married like a year and stuff. And so we decided to sell.
Yeah.
But then I just went back to Pflugerville and started volunteer teaching again, kind of to like what I did again. Whenever I felt like I had to do it, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go teach.
Yeah.
And I still liked teaching, but when you have to do it, it makes it less enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so I made sure when we sold the school that I was like, I went back to my home school where I started, and a friend's family who started Taekwondo with us, they were also homeschooled too. They owned that school at the time, and I volunteered for them, and I was able to train with them. And that's actually where I took my first jiu-jitsu class, because they had a little jiu-jitsu program in 2009. It was like me and like 2 other guys, right? And I think they were just white belts, no stripe type of thing. Like it was the blind teaching the blind. Yeah, it was fun, but didn't learn a whole lot. But we wrestled each other,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So so I started teaching in Pflugerville. My original Taekwondo instructor he owns a school in South Austin still to this day.
Wow.
And I met him. I saw him at another event, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to start teaching again?" I was like, "Sure." Because at that time I'd taken, I had to get another job, right?
Yeah.
Because we sold the Taekwondo school.
Yeah.
And so my wife was working at a pizza shop, and so I worked at that pizza shop for about a year and a half with her.
Nice.
Right? That was fun, an experience in itself. But so I started teaching in Round Rock, the school that I own currently, but just as an employee twice a week.
Okay.
And still volunteering in Pflugerville, but teaching in Round Rock. Then my instructor needed some help in South Austin, so I was teaching in Round Rock, South Austin, and Pflugerville. And occasionally I'd help out and teach at a school in Leander too. So I was teaching sometimes at 4 different schools throughout the week.
Dude, that's a lot of driving.
Yeah, but I got to do what you got to do. My daughter was born in 2010, and it was like I needed to work.
Yeah.
And then my instructor just didn't want to own the Round Rock school anymore in 2011. He's like, I'm tired of owning 2 businesses, and we negotiated the price, and the rest is history.
Did you pay for, did you do a loan on it? Did you do seller finance where you were
seller finance
for a while?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Wow. I feel like that just flows so well.
Yep.
I mean, of course, hindsight, but
right. Plus it's like I had a relationship with the guy, my instructor. And so it's like, he knows me. I know him. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. He knew you were going to do his students well and the business well and everything. That probably made it a lot easier.
Yep.
Okay, so that was, help me out with the date. That was 2010?
We
2012?
bought the Round Rock Taekwondo in 2011.
Okay. 2011. So you've been running it since then.
Yep.
Wow. What kept you from getting burnt out a second time?
I'm older. I have a family to kind of support. And when you're like in your early 20s, I was just like, I wanted to do other stuff. Right. I wanted to do other stuff. I was like, I felt like tied down, and now look, I was like, I'm glad I'm tied down. Like I wouldn't know what to do with my time if I didn't have like stuff to do. That's why I'm at the gym and at Cooper's and at work. It's like I have a routine and I enjoy it. Yeah.
Dang, so you've been in this area for a while, dude.
Yeah.
Have you, it seems like we've only been here for like a few years.
Okay.
So, and has it like changed a lot?
Yeah.
Because Austin, it seems like it's just exploding.
Yeah. So, I remember I live in Leander, and I remember when Leander was like the boonies. Like Leander was so far out of town, and now it's like Leander's not even far away at all, like at all. Yeah.
Wow.
And so many more buildings and stuff. I haven't been to downtown Austin proper maybe since 2021. Okay. And it's like I don't even want to try to go down to Austin anymore, man. It's like it's like traffic is one thing.
Dude,
I went to my buddy Mo's jiu-jitsu black belt when he got promoted, and it was the first time I had to drive in traffic in probably 10 years, because I get to the Taekwondo school at like 2 to clean up and take care of business stuff, so there's no traffic at 2. Right. And then I get off at 8. There's no traffic at 8. I don't have to ever deal with traffic.
That's amazing.
Mo promoted in like Kyle at 6 p.m.
Oh,
so
that was probably a rough wake
up
call.
It was the worst like 2 hours of my life. It was so bad.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It was worth Mo getting his black belt for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It was so bad though.
It's a big deal.
The traffic on a Friday.
Oh. Dude, every time someone asks me like, "You want to go do something downtown Austin?" It's like, is it worth it? Like,
that's
it worth
very valid.
Yeah, most of the time not. Yeah.
Most of the time not. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so
okay, I'm extremely curious of how you got into this whole dog fostering thing.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on that.
You have all these little side quests.
Right. That's funny. So we didn't have, I had some dogs growing up as a kid. And then, we'd already had 2 kids, or my wife and I had my daughter and my son. And we just were like, let's get a dog in 2017. So we got a dog. His name is Dexter. We got a second dog named Walter. And we got a third dog a little bit later named Nancy. Okay. They're all named after TV characters.
Okay.
Like anti-heroes.
I was wondering.
And so we we adopted our last dog through a rescue organization in Austin called Lovable. And they will get basically pit bulls that have been like neglected and like take them out of dangerous situations or take them out of like kill shelters if they're going to be killed. And they have to have somewhere to go between adoption, right? And so we were fosters. So like typically, since our dogs do better with puppies, we actually get the puppies, which is so nice and so cute.
That's
my
awesome.
Gosh. So we'll adopt these puppies, and they're generally like 2 months to about 6 months old. And so they're in their cutest phase.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's not, besides like, puppies being puppies and like, chewing on stuff and whatnot. They're so cute. They're so cute. Yeah.
How long do you normally have one on average?
The longest foster we had, I think, was about 6 months, right? And the shortest amount of time we had a foster, about a week. But I'd say, like on average, maybe 3 weeks is about the average length of time we have a foster. But again, we had the puppies.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the puppies kind of go pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all like usually pit bulls.
Yeah, pit bulls, pit bull mixes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like all 3 of my dogs are pit bulls or pit bull mixes.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you know what they're mixed with, or not really?
Oh yeah, dude. We got the genetic testing. So like Dexter, he's a pit bull and then coonhound, and then Walter is pit bull and like a shelter mix. So a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
And then Nancy, our smallest one, is pit bull and Chihuahua.
What?
Yeah, she has like I don't know how that worked out, but
That's wild.
yeah, she's like 45 pounds.
How did that work out?
I don't know.
45 pounds?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think that's the first I've ever heard of that.
Pit bull Chihuahua. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. We fostered a dog.
Oh, nice.
Growing up, like for a little bit. I think it was like a couple months, and he was a pit bull. We got him when he was older, and he was a pit bull mixed with a Ridgeback. Have you ever heard of a Ridgeback?
Yeah.
And he was a super cool dog. He had like his eyes were like a light, they're not like white, but like a light bluish, whatever.
Sure.
And that was he was a really good family dog.
Yeah.
Like very protective, super friendly. But we had just a little birthday party one day, and this mom and her daughter was like, I don't know, maybe like 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They walked in the front door, and the dog like sensed fear. I guess that's like what they think.
Yeah.
And you just went like straight on attack mode at this little girl,
No!
dude. Yeah. So my mom literally like pushed the dog out of the way just in time, and like his tooth like nicked her.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Crazy,
Oh,
bro.
my
Crazy.
goodness. Yeah,
So she was
that's
like,
rough.
"Yeah, we gotta get rid of him."
Yeah,
We
unfortunately,
were all sad
like,
'cause he
yeah.
was super cool, but
Yeah, I mean, but you
just
got
crazy
to
stuff like that.
you got to put your kids first, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I'm sure it didn't help that, like, he was already an older dog, and
Yeah,
things are just weird like that.
yeah. Sometimes they're set in their ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting those puppies, that's the move.
Oh,
That's-
dude, and my wife, she'll like make social media posts to like promote like adopt these dogs
yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Sure.
And so she just takes these like the cutest pictures ever, and like she asked me to like share them, and so like I constantly see them on my Facebook memories, like these puppies, and I'm like, oh,
Dang.
God.
Forgot about that one. Dang,
Yes.
I missed this one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. How did you end up in the Austin Facial Hair Club?
So I have a buddy of mine, and Jeff Ray, and I knew him through Taekwondo actually,
Okay.
and Jiu-Jitsu. So he was a Jiu-Jitsu blue belt and a Taekwondo black belt also. I met him. He trained at South Austin's Taekwondo school, which is also where the Jiu-Jitsu school is. But Jeff has always had like this goatee, and over time it kept getting longer and longer and longer and bigger. I was like, dude, that's kind of rad, but like, what's up with this, right? So then he starts like always like posting like pictures of like I'm at the Austin Facial Hair Club like monthly meeting, and I was like, Austin Facial Hair Club, what's this? And then that was right around the time this TV show, I forget what channel it came on, but it was called Whisker Wars.
No way.
Whisker Wars. And it followed the Austin Facial Hair Club on their competitions, finishing at the World Beard and Mustache Championships, which I think was in Germany that year. Anyway, so Whisker Wars. So I'm like, oh, there's like actual like facial hair club competitions. So I watch it. I'm like, huh, that seems neat. And I know Jeff. So I was like, I'm going to go hang out. So I invited my brothers. I don't think they came with me the first time. But so I went down to Austin at Austin Facial Hair Club meeting, and I'd had a beard for maybe like a month. Right? And it wasn't the biggest beard I'd grown at the time, but like a month, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up. I haven't shaved in a month. And the first guy I meet is the president of the Austin Facial Hair Club, Brian Nelson. And this guy had his beard down like to his belt, braided. I was like, could not help but just like look and like, I can't believe someone's beard is actually that long,
Yeah.
like longer than ZZ Top. you know, like, and he's a super cool dude. But yeah, I just met the guys. It was kind of a cool little like clique, and just the way that they described it, some of the members, it was a beer club with a beard problem. right. Yeah. So that's how they put it. Yeah. But found out that the competitions they were doing would actually raise money for like Wounded Warrior Project or Safe Austin or various charities in whatever cities that they're doing. Right. So they had competition coming up in February in Austin called Come and Shave It. Plan on come and take it, you know? Right? And so that was my first beard competition. It was pretty fun. And then that was in 2016. And later that year, my wife and I actually traveled to Denver for the National Beard and Mustache Competition. And so that's what it was in Denver in 2016. So we went with a club. There was probably like 25 of us or whatever from the club. We rented an Airbnb for like 3 days, and it was an awesome. It was a party. It was so cool. And so that was the first time on a big stage, and everyone's got like this crazy facial hair, like freestyle facial hair where it's like in spikes and just intricate patterns. And then you got, then the people styling their mustaches like goes past their face and curls up.
Dude.
Insane. It's super cool subculture. And you'll meet some like super cool down to earth people, but it was all fun. And then I competed in the 2017 World Championships that were held in Austin. I think it was the Long Center. Yeah, it was at Long Center. And I did not make the podium, right?
That's okay.
But that was the biggest beard competition up to date, and I think they've surpassed it by now.
But yeah, Austin's a perfect place or something like that.
It's so cool. Yeah, it was so cool. I haven't been to like active since like COVID. You know, I think I went to one or two meetings in 2021 or 2022. But like, I still keep up with the guys on social media, but I like
for sure
don't really go to the meetings, and I don't do competitions anymore. It's just kind of fell off. I think COVID kind of killed a lot of people's like things that they did. They just got out of the habit of going, because the meetings were like twice a month on Sunday afternoons, and we would go like almost every single meeting just to hang out. It was like kind of like going to jiu-jitsu. You go to jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu, but you hang out with the guys.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it was kind of that thing. Like Sunday afternoon, I'm going to go hang out with the guys.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fell off. And during that COVID time, I got a lot more tight with my jiu-jitsu guys.
Right.
Yeah. Because it was a small group of us getting together during COVID. Right.
Sure.
And so we got a lot tighter during that time.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. It's so funny that like, I just love hearing those things because I just think about like I go through life just completely oblivious to something like that. That like there's these beard competitions.
Dude, you should like, look it up.
It's just so cool.
Freestyle facial hair competition, or it's wild. Some of these guys that will do freestyle will take like 3 to 6 hours with like hairspray, like that got to be glued hairspray, and they have like hair dryers, and they will like. It's these designs. I never had the patience for that. The most I did for freestyle is I made my face look like an asterisk, basically. I just like, it was like way down, and I parted it out, and that was it. I did not have time for all the curls and stuff like that. It was like, it took me less than half an hour, and I was like, I'm done with this. And so most of the time I just competed in like freestyle, or not freestyle, natural. So just like, natural or awesome. Chops when I had chops. I had big chops.
Okay, so what was say again what that was? We grew the chops out for, and you dressed up.
So that was a event in Galveston called Dickens on the Strand. It's like a Victorian era festival. Mm-hmm. Everyone at the festival dresses up Victorian era, and the Austin Facial Hair Club was there to put on a beard and mustache competition.
Wow.
Okay,
yeah.
So you just combine the two, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's so cool that just something as crazy and silly as that, like, it almost gave you a little community.
Oh, it
just
was
to
for
hang out
sure.
with, which I bet was really cool to have.
It was neat,
especially like later in your years too, because it seems like as you get older, it's easier just to kind of like
not be involved in stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like sometimes you just need a night with the boys, you know?
Right. Well, and,
like
and,
that, so.
and there's a lot of women in the club too. And so because I mean, eyebrows are facial hair, right?
True.
Dude, they have women's. Are you saying that they have women's eyebrow?
No, it's not eyebrow competitions, but they do have like realistic, like they'll do costume beards, right?
Oh, wow.
And costume mustaches, and they'll do like realistic categories, so it looks like a real beard. Or they'll do creative categories, and it basically looks like arts and crafts, right? They'll make a beard out of like stickers, or make a beard out of yarn, or something like that. But again, it's all just for charity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And there are some women that competed in like beard competitions too. They just they grew facial hair, and then they would join the competitions and they'd compete too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We this is like totally random kind of, but in our church growing up for youth camp, they would do a sexy legs competition for guys.
Yeah. I remember that.
Dude.
Yeah.
That was always a good time.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they would like shave their legs.
They shave the legs?
They would
Oh my goodness.
legs, dude. Shave their legs, lotion, and like
no.
everything. So all the guys would get it. It was like one of the biggest events for youth camp. But we'd all sit in the pool and all the teams, like every team would get like one guy to like represent.
That's so funny,
dude.
Yeah.
And the girls would do, this is wild, but the girls would do hairy armpit competition. So like there were girls that would go like weeks.
No.
And just have like legit like
wow.
It was wild.
You mean people will do crazy stuff for youth camp?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Very true.
They will eat crazy stuff for youth camps.
The craziest thing I ever saw happen was we had this thing at our church growing up called Teams, and we do it every summer. And it lasted maybe like 10 weeks. And we had a big youth group growing up at my church. And so big, in fact, that we outgrew our youth group room. And the youth pastor asked the head pastor if we could switch auditoriums for the summer. And he's like, well, like if you have over 250 in attendance, and I think the most we had was probably around 250.
Jeez.
We had and I think he told all the kids, he's like, dude, okay, this is it. We had like over 300 kids in attendance on Wednesday nights. So during summer,
oh my God,
Wednesday nights, during teams, when I was in youth group, we would have like easily over 200 on average during the summer.
Holy cow, dude, that's
easily.
For a youth group, that's like pretty
giant.
Rare.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare.
Nowadays, like I asked the same, my brother was the youth pastor at that church after he went to SAGU, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He became youth pastor at that church, and he said, he would have like maybe 70 at the top on a big night, and it just
that's pretty typical now.
It died down, yeah.
Wow.
But there was like people that got bussed in from Liberty Hill. Like there were so many kids from Liberty Hill. The church chartered buses from Liberty Hill to Austin, 2222 and Mopac, right around that area.
Whoa.
And they would sometimes bring in like 50, 60 kids from Liberty Hill to our youth groups during teams.
Jeez.
What made it blow up like that, do you think?
So teams was this giant...
you're talking about teams.
Yeah,
like an event
giant competition.
Okay.
And you were split into like 4 different colors, right? Red, yellow, green, and blue, or whatever. And at the end, if your team won, then they were invited to go on like a ski trip that the church put on that December.
Oh, wow.
Dang,
right?
That's legit.
But it wasn't free. Like you won, you got invited. And if you were in like the top 10 in points total, you also got to go too. But I think it was just, honestly, I think it was a way of like, hey, let's put on this youth retreat during the winter But if we get enough people to go, then we get a discount, right? Type of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And the youth pastor liked to ski and snowboard. So it was like kind of a cool thing. Right. You know, and it was fun during the summer, man. It was real cool during the summer.
Yeah.
But that was the big thing. But you got like different points for like you attended. You got 5,000 points for your team.
Yeah.
Brought your Bible. You got like 5,000 points. You brought a guest. You got 10,000 points. You give your tithe and offering. Add like 2 zeros to the end of the dollar amount, and that's how much. So, dude, I had this one friend, and he would not tithe all year long. No joke.
Oh, that's awesome.
During teams, there was one night towards the end of teams where because they would have like some night themes that were like, okay, double offering night where you got double points for your offering.
Oh,
they had triple offering night.
No way.
He would dump his whole tithe and offering for the entire year. That one night.
No way.
Yes.
That is amazing, dude.
Dropping an annual bag.
Oh, dude, it was
triple tithe night.
That is actually hilarious, dude. That is actually hilarious.
And he'd be like number one, like no one could touch him after that, right? Like,
Wow, what a G.
he just walk around. Yeah, he would walk around like a G.
That's amazing.
He was homeschooled too.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, I went to a camp growing up called Lakeview, which is like kind of close to Sagu.
Yeah.
And
That's where you went growing up? Really?
yeah, mostly.
Okay, yeah.
There's another camp that we went to for a little while. Starts with a C. It's like C&I. Forget. I'm definitely butchering it.
CFI? I don't know.
It's in
I don't know. I'm not going to try. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
something like
dang,
that.
I can't believe I butchered that. But anyway, we mostly went to Lakeview, and the team's games are huge.
Yeah.
They call it something different, but the games are just like the central point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what youth camp you go to where they don't have something like that at least.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's got to add that competitive aspect.
And
to
they'll
it.
do like the skits. Did you guys grow up in the era of human videos?
Oh yeah, dude.
So you mentioned that to someone who doesn't know. They're like,
What is
what's that?
Yeah.
And
How do you explain it?
know. So I've gone on YouTube rabbit holes, and I do it about once a year where I'll like, you know what they call the Fine Arts Festival?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
type in current year, human video, Fine Arts Festival. You'll have a blast. And you'll see all the top 10 finalists. And it's like a blast from the past watching all these like
Dude.
these human videos.
Wow. Wait, okay, so you did fine arts
Yeah.
growing up? No way.
Yeah, I did
we
choir.
both
I
did.
went on choir tours like all through
What?
high school. Yeah. I went to like New York and San Salvador. I went to Washington State in Canada, Scotland my senior year.
What?
Yeah, all these like
Dude.
mission trips, you know.
Yeah. Were you?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, so, okay, you did,
Yeah, I went to Fine Arts Festival.
that's crazy because,
Yeah.
like, when did fine arts start?
A long time ago. Yeah. Before I was in like high school.
I didn't realize it was that old. Holy
Yeah,
crap,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, like, where was your last year? Like,
Fine
like
Arts
for nationals.
Oh
Did they do
man.
that then?
Yeah, they did have nationals back then. I think it was still, I don't remember if it was in Missouri or not.
Okay.
But
okay.
2003 was the last year I did fine arts because I graduated that year.
Okay. Yeah. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I graduated 2003. So, yeah, fine arts.
Man.
And I think that they used to do it where if you got a certain level, you got like a small scholarship to colleges like SAGU.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I got scholarships.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I did choir. I did probably some human videos for like, but all the competitions, I think were at SAGU or close to SAGU.
Okay.
North Texas District.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
They still have it there.
Yeah.
That's a big draw for SAGU.
Right.
They'll host it, and it's good marketing for
It's
them.
great marketing for
Yeah,
SAGU.
it's their ideal audience.
Yeah.
Attendees.
Yeah, for sure.
That are usually
All
in
high schoolers.
school,
Yeah.
which are,
Yeah.
it's like, that's a no-brainer for them to do. And they're offering free money to attend their school if you could just compete
Yep.
normally.
Gosh, it's
It's like,
so nice, like talking to someone who knows what fine arts is. Like, it's such like a niche church.
It's so niche.
Experience.
It is.
So when you talk to someone that like knows what that's like, dude, it's just like,
Yep.
it's just a connection there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have like really an acting bone in my body. Like I'm not a fine arts kid. Like I wasn't really.
But you could do a human video.
Yeah. Apparently they need bodies.
You can be a cross, dude. You can be
you can be a cross.
I was like the lead role.
Really?
In, like my senior year. And I look back at that video like, gosh, that was awful.
Man, so the nationals?
No.
Really? Like ever? Really?
No.
You never went to the nationals?
Taylor, my wife, was like big into, they went to nationals a lot. She did, she's great at it. She did like a solo event for drama.
I know she was in fine arts too.
Yeah, I think she did like a spoken word maybe.
Yeah.
She's really good at that stuff. I was just not.
Short sermon.
Yeah.
Poetry.
I almost
all those,
damn, dude. Wow.
Choir, I would not have guessed.
Yeah.
I was in a vocal ensemble. I was in a large vocal ensemble.
Okay.
Like, I was in human video. I did a small human video. I was in a worship band.
Okay.
Man. Crazy.
Yeah. I did AV for my my church youth group growing up.
You did what?
Audio video.
So
like basically PowerPoint and lights and sound.
Okay. Yeah. That's so funny. Fine arts was like huge. It still is huge at our church. I mean, we went to nationals every year.
Really?
Like, every year. Yeah.
So sometimes that's what like it's a focal point for youth group.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and junior Bible quiz. Do you guys do junior Bible quiz? I did JBQ.
Okay, I was never in JBQ.
What? I did JBQ, man. My mom was the district coordinator.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't thought about JBQ.
JBQ. Dude, my brothers and I will sometimes quiz each other.
No.
Like, question number 1 for 10 points.
Yes, dude. The buzzer?
Okay, so my dad was our captain, like our captain guy, right? The coach, I guess. And we were going up this team, and they were like undefeated at like districts.
Whoa.
So my dad is like, timeout. Comes, he's like, guys, as soon as they start answering the question, I want you to buzz in. We're not going to get the answer. We're not going to know what the question is. She's like,
as soon as the moderator starts asking the question,
he's like,
telling you to buzz in.
just do it. So the guy starts the question. Of course, we get it wrong, right?
Yeah.
But the other team was so freaked out that we buzzed in so quickly, they started just buzzing in way too early on the following questions.
No way.
Yes.
What?
We ended up winning that game because my dad just got in their head.
Psychological warfare is that, dude? That's insane.
Okay, wait. We should describe, like, we should give a brief
junior Bible quiz.
What JBQ is to someone who has no idea what we're talking about. Even probably human video. We should.
I was never in JBQ.
Well, describe what human video is, because we talked about it. Okay. People probably have no idea what that even is.
Okay, human video. Basically, imagine like a drama, right? Like you have like a team of people with a maximum of 10 people, right? And so you're on.
It's going to be so difficult to describe.
Yeah. So you are acting. You're acting, but you're not using words. You're completely silent. So you're acting to a song.
It's like charades to a song, basically.
Yeah, you're acting to a song or to a voiceover or something like that, and like the whole goal is to convey some kind of story through this song or voiceover or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think that's the best way I can describe it.
Yep.
You get like 7 minutes, I think,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that, and
it could either be like the cringiest thing you've ever seen. Or like one of the most
dope,
moving, sick.
Dude, I almost cried in some of them, dude. Like some of them
the ones that you can tell that they've put like 200 hours into practicing, and it's just like flawless.
Yeah,
it's pretty intense.
They're amazing. They're amazing.
You got a YouTube. Okay, do it. 2024 Fine Arts Festival Human Video.
Yeah,
do it later.
Dude, I will. Yeah. I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay, JBQ it's basically like the spelling bee, but for Bible questions.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But instead of like someone standing on stage, like one at a time, it's with buzzers at a table. So you have like...
And there's a team of 4. 2 teams of 4.
2 teams of 4.
So like
on
a family
opposite
feud.
sides. It's exactly like
Yeah.
feud,
Okay.
And you have like a moderator who will give a question. And so like what Brandon was saying with them, the way his dad got on the other team's head was like when the moderator starts asking the question, you can buzz in and they won't finish the question.
You have to finish the question for the moderator and then answer the question.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was basically like impossible for them to get an answer right. They're
Yeah.
buzzing in like the first word they're saying.
Yeah.
But so that psyched the other team out apparently to the point where they were buzzing.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
That's a wild strategy. Dude,
I think
props to your dad.
I think the other coach caught on to what had happened and ended up calling his own timeout and being like, "Hey guys, stop it!" But it was too late. Like they were already in their head.
Jazzed.
Yeah. Well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but we went to like districts most years.
Really?
Yeah, and I think after I had aged out of JBQ, the team started going to nationals like almost every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, but I remember it being intense.
Like, were you in Royal Rangers too?
Dude.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
No way, dude. My dad was commander. My dad was a
My
commander.
mom and dad were commanders.
Wow.
So I did
world?
I did Boy Scouts like more than
Wow.
Royal Rangers. So
Okay.
I kinda
Yeah, so
sold
he's a
out
real one.
after a while.
Sure.
I sold out after a while. But I remember doing it like when I was young for a few years. And
Yeah.
then I think I
So
jumped.
you
straight
got
to Boy
rainbows, straight arrows, buckaroos, pioneers, trailblazers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scouts. Dang, so you were in it.
Oh, I was in it
Like
until I joined youth group because it was on Wednesday nights, same
Yeah.
time.
Dude, same. That's
Yep.
like this. That's like my same exact track.
Yeah.
Like I did Royal Rangers from kindergarten to 5th grade. And then 6th grade hits. I'm in middle school. I went to
Yeah. As soon
So
as I
Wednesday
turned
night
12, I
youth.
was like, "Bye, Rangers."
yeah.
So like, there's still
Yeah.
girls here. Right.
so true.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm going to youth group.
Yeah, I'm going to youth.
I'm going to swim in a different
Yeah.
pond.
That's
Yeah.
what the cool kids are.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Rangers, man. You know that Boy Scouts and Rangers, their final thing, I think it's like Eagle Scout and then Arrow of Light.
Yeah.
Arrow of Light is Royal Rangers. Those are the only 2 civilian badges that you can wear on military uniforms.
What?
Yeah.
Royal Rangers.
Yeah.
Really?
The Arrow of Light from Royal Rangers and the Eagle Scout badge from Boy Scouts are the only 2 civilian badges you can wear on like on your military uniform at like official events.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
it's
did-
legit.
It's legit.
Yeah. Royal Rangers are legit, dude.
Yeah.
Ready for anything.
I'm ready for anything.
Dude, what
So-
other church program are we missing on? That's
Right?
really
Rangers and
3.
missionettes.
Missionettes, yeah.
Yeah.
I only had brothers, so we you know,
Okay, yeah.
My mom was a commander, right? For pioneers, so yeah.
Yeah, my dad was commander for 3rd grade.
Okay.
Royal Rangers, like for years.
Buckaroos,
for
yeah.
years. Yeah, we would like for every time after the lesson, he would take us outside and we played dodgeball.
Yeah.
But instead, it was like,
We would play buns up.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But for us, it wasn't like typical dodgeball. It was like really just all the kids in the middle, while the 2 commanders just freaking throw the ball at us as hard as they can. So,
And the old school
was fun.
dodgeballs.
yeah.
Yeah. The ones with those little like cross hatches.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad would take some kids out sometimes, dude. It was awesome.
Dude, I was in Royal Rangers actually once. And I was in Straight Arrow, so I was like 6. And we were playing like Simon Says or something. And speaking of like pinging kids, so I was like, I can't get any of my friends out. So in my 6-year-old mind, I thought it'd be fun or funny to say, Simon Says, fight each other. So all these 5 and 6-year-old kids dogpiled each other.
No.
Some kid lost a tooth.
What?
It was probably already loose.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably.
I got
That's
scolded
fair.
the
for
fact
that.
that they did it was pretty
I know,
awesome.
right? They're like, I don't want to get out.
Simon Says, dog pile. That's amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah, when I was at SAGU, I did like a little, what was it called? It was like Rise. It was called Rise. It was like a sports focused kids camp, kind of like a weekend.
Yeah.
So I was like a coach.
Yeah, but we
For
did
the
like
weekend.
mega sports camp.
Okay.
Like, growing up, we did mega sports.
Okay,
Did you guys do mega sports camp? Like
No.
Dang.
No.
Well, I just remember like a lot of our football coaches wanted all of us like athletes to get get involved, whatever. So one night, dude, I mean, we had, Lakeview, they had like all the cabins, and we somehow got like all the kids in the cabin to just do a massive pillow fight, like massive, dude. And these kids, like, I felt bad, but dude, this kid came up and whacked me like hard, and dude, I turned around, and I let him have it. He was a little rowdy. Okay,
yeah,
he could take it.
Yeah,
but
he had it
dude,
coming.
kids are just crazy, dude.
That can get out of hand quick.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
You
It's like Lord of the Flies.
Dude, yes, dude. Oh my gosh.
You take a pillow the wrong way, and you're a little concussed,
dude. You will get whiplash for
dude,
sure.
If you have a solid pillow, you can do some damage.
It's not plushy.
With all those feathers like fall down to one end.
Yeah.
Dude,
or even you have like a
you're gonna
memory
wreck
foam,
somebody.
like a hard memory foam pillow that's cold or something.
Yeah,
it's not. Might as well be a like 2x6 board.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then when I was in camp, my like older years, we'd do rat tails.
Yeah.
And dude, we would like
get a little bit wet at the end.
Yeah. Yep. And they would split the end and wet it. So I mean, dude, we would dare kids to take like, there was one kid, one of my brother's friends, we dared him to take 10 hits to the stomach.
Oh.
And like, dude, I think he bled. Like, it was crazy, dude. Gosh. I miss those days.
Such good memories, man. Dang.
Such good memories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know Joseph talked about how, I mean, it's crazy that like you had such a similar experience in church that we did. Like almost, I mean, the fact that you were in Rangers, went to like, you did fine arts, and this is like, I mean, dude, you're what? 15 years older than we are?
I'm 38.
So, 38. Yeah, so I'm 26. You're
24.
Yeah, so
23.
Wow, that's just crazy. So I know I know that you and Joseph talked. He was telling how there were kind of things that like you felt frustrated with growing up, I guess.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't think that really started until like I got older and I moved out. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So like I moved out when I was 19. I was working full time at Taekwondo. I was able to move out. So I did. Yeah. And yeah, I was working a lot. I was teaching sometimes 9 hours a day.
Whoa.
Or 9 classes a day, roughly, right? 9 hours.
You get paid like per class?
I got paid hourly, so I'd get there early and I'd, do admin stuff. Back then I was doing everything. I was doing admin, all the admin, and I was doing all the teaching. I think that's what burned me out and why we ended up selling in 2008.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I moved out, and so I had been still like going to church, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, I don't have to go to church anymore. So if I miss a Sunday, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We went to church every single Sunday, every single Wednesday. Like Mondays, my parents were in programs. I got there early. Wednesdays, I would go to Sidewalk Sunday School and like serve on Saturdays. We went Sunday evenings, right, to the evening service.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, dude, we were in it, man.
Yeah.
And so I felt a little freedom and maybe rebellion too, right? And I was 19.
Sure.
And moved out. And I wasn't going to church as much anymore. And I'd moved from my first apartment, like on Northwest Austin, and moved in with a roommate in Pflugerville, right? Which is the furthest I had moved away from Northwest Austin my whole life, right?
Okay.
Pflugerville.
Yeah.
Right? Not even that far away. And all my friends were either working at the church, whether they were doing AV stuff paid or whether they were, I think one of my buddies was working as a groundskeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, I did that.
And it was actually, I moved, he became my roommate. And I was still super tight with him, right?
Nice.
And I guess because I'd stopped going to church, there was like this, he's backslidden type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is just a thing, right?
It is.
It's just
very much a thing.
They don't see you in a couple of weeks. You're like, is everything okay? Like, yeah, I'm just wasn't here. like everything's completely fine. And
I got a new job at a strip club. It's just
right, exactly. Like, so one of the staff members at the church, who I think just retired semi-recently, found out he was moving in with me and was like, Brandon, is he still bad?
Is he still bad?
Is he still bad?
Right. And so he like tells me this, and I'm like, that hit me.
What a crazy question.
Yeah. And I don't know like what the tone was or like whatever, but that hit me real hard because
maybe he was saying like, is he still bad? Like bad on the phone.
Like really cool.
Yeah, like is he still like a Taekwondo? Is he like 3rd degree or 4th degree?
Is he still bad? Yeah.
Is he still
But it hit me real hard because I was like, dude, I've gone to this church my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I was like friends with their that person who said that's son, like basically like a year younger than me, like gone over to his house all the time. And it was like, why is my absence? Why was that even like something that got brought up?
Yeah.
Were they kidding? I don't know. Huh. But it kind of hit. So I was like, well, cool, whatever. So that was in maybe early 2006. Okay. And then my wife and we got engaged in later that 2006 and started attending church together, but we had started attending a different church because I was like, let's just go somewhere fresh. Because I have a big history there. I've been going there for almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And not that anything against the church, but that kind of stuck in my head.
For sure.
Right?
And you may just want to try something new.
And just try something new.
Meet new people.
Yeah. So we started going to a different church in Northwest Austin. And we went there for a long time. And we got asked to serve. And our daughter was like young, like baby young. And so we were working in the nursery. And so we were just like in a room with babies 1 hour. I think the church had two services on Sundays, but they ended up going to 3 eventually while we were serving. So we started serving and just became leaders for that hour, basically in charge of like getting the volunteers, like making sure all the rooms were filled, right? It was a pretty big church with a really big kids program. And weren't really feeling fed. And we were told like, you need to join a small group. You need to join a small group. Well, all the small groups for like our age group and our like people in their 20s with kids, there's not that many, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, we'll find other people with kids. Well, they're all older, so we felt weird. We would have felt more comfortable being with people our age. Well, all those meet at like 5 p.m. on like Tuesday or 6 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm teaching class till 8 p.m. every single night of the week. It's not happening. And so was like, well, and all the other small groups on like Saturday evening were like with old people that just didn't mix well, right? Older people that didn't mix well. All their kids were like way older than our kids. And it's like, they're not much, younger than us anyway.
Yeah,
they're teenagers and we're like in our early 20s. So, it just didn't work. And so we never got plugged in really to a small group. So the only community we had were the people we volunteered with on Sunday mornings. And, we were like serving for probably 10 years, like at this church. And at
That's
a point,
a long time.
Yeah, a really long time.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, that was a really long time. It was like 2007 to 2017.
Dang, dude.
That we served. And didn't feel fed. Got to the point where I was, teaching 6 days a week, which, I love what I do, but I never had a day of rest. Because Sundays, it was like, I got to serve. And it felt like another job.
Yeah.
And so I never had that Sabbath, essentially. And my wife felt the same way, where it became like something that, less of something that we felt we were like tithing and offering with our time, and something more that we like we felt we had to do. And if we didn't, we felt guilty. Like, oh, you need to find someone to fill in your spot. You know, God never asked you to do less. He always asked you to do more, type of stuff. And we're like, dude, like, I work 6 days a week. You're in your 40s or 50s. You know, work 5 days a week. You get a full weekend. I don't. And like, and I don't think people relate it. They're like, oh, well, you just got to do what God's asking you to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't relatable at all. And so, like, we decided we were just going to step down eventually in 2017. And that's like when we ultimately stopped like attending church on a regular basis. It was like into 2017, because we just needed that breath of fresh air. Like, I have a 1-day weekend now. Whereas like when I was serving on Sundays, I had no weekend. And yes, I did have a weekend, but if I had to be at church and I had to be serving on Sunday morning, it didn't feel that way. Yeah. And so, it's an
actual rest.
It wasn't a rest. I mean, I worked half a day on Saturday, but still half a day. And if I was working half a day on Sunday, it was the same thing. I got no rest, no time, you know? And it's like, well, what are you going to do after you go to church? Well, let's go shopping. Well, you finish going grocery shopping for the week. Now it's like 6 p.m. and you got little kids at home. It's like, okay, well, there goes the whole weekend right there. Yep. You know?
And that gets exhausting, dude.
You did
that for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts to me.
And I felt that way a little bit too, even serving AV as a teenager.
Yeah.
I remember once my brother showed up late. I was picking him up from high school because he went to Westwood High School, his first 2 years of high school, and then went to another school. But he I was supposed to pick him up from school. He didn't show up, come out for like, he was like 25 minutes late coming to the car. Come to find out, he had been making out with some girl. Like, that's why he was late. So cool, whatever. But I show up and I'm kind of stressed out because I know I'm late for like audio video. Like, the band's probably already there practicing. I'm not there on time. So I'm already stressed out. And of course, when you're stressed out and you're late going somewhere, you get this like anxiety, right?
For sure.
So I show up and the first thing that the person says is, "You're late."
Oh.
And as a rebellious, like 17-year-old, I said, "I don't have to be here." And I said that.
Wrong.
I was not wrong. As a rebellious 17-year-old, probably should have learned how to tame my tongue, you know. But I was right. I did not have to be there. I was serving, volunteering. But
to anyone,
so it was like
the church,
it was a series of
that's a normal
events.
response,
right? Exactly. Yeah,
but in church culture, of course, it's like
right. And so, nothing against the church at all, or I guess nothing against like Christianity
for sure.
But a lot of times the church is like an organization. Man, it's like it can rub me the wrong way, and I think that's a lot of the reason we haven't started going back. That, and it's good to have a 1-day weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Can you, I know this might be tough, but can you explain what you meant by we weren't being fed? Like, we didn't feel like we were being fed. Like, what did that feel like?
Yeah. So,
because sometimes it's kind of hard to.
It's hard for people to understand what that means.
Yeah.
So we would show up and to church, and we'd serve our first hour. So we'd be there. Okay. We'd do our serving, and we'd basically be giving, right?
Yeah.
And we'd go to the church service afterwards, and you're singing worship and you're hearing the message. It's a lot of times on Sunday mornings, especially at certain churches, it's the same song and dance. It's just a production you put on every single Sunday morning. That's the same thing, right? And I've been going to church my whole life, and so it was just like, I'm literally just sitting here going through the same exact motions. Maybe part of that was my fault for not seeking more nutrition, right? Seeking more like depth or whatever. but I didn't feel like I was being sought after by the church. I felt like I was just being used. Like, oh, I missed you're late to AV practice. Oh, is Brandon still bad? Right? You know, you can't be there on Sunday morning while you're serving in the nursery. Where's your replacement? God never asked you to do less. He only asked you to do more. And it was like,
first of all, that's a crazy statement.
Right.
Like, taken way out of context.
Right. And it just felt like my wife and I, we were giving so much for such a long time. And it's like, as soon as we were like, well, we may need to take a break, that was the response. God never asked you to do less, only more. And we're like, dude, it felt like a slap in the face, man. And it's like, I'm literally here. And I want, like, the church had 3 services. Middle service is whenever they had, which is when we served, right? When they had the classes, right?
Okay.
So it was.
Oh, okay. So like Sunday school, basically.
Sort of. Exactly. That's when they had their Sunday school. And the other 2, it was like just a service.
Okay.
Right? But the middle service is when they had main service going on and Sunday school classes. So we're serving during that time.
So you're not even getting like the teaching aspect either.
Right. We're sitting in the general service.
Yeah.
Right. The general big service. Right.
Yeah.
So we're not getting that like connection with like people and like stuff like that. Right. You know? And so what was the alternative? Okay. Well, show up at 8:15 in the morning and serve then, and then go to Sunday school
and then
go to main service. And it was like, it was just too much. And we just didn't feel like it was something that we could do or after that length of time wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I just feel like that's so, I feel like that's much more relatable to people than you might realize. I think that's a more common experience than a lot of people realize. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just,
diabetes alarm.
It's so crazy how for someone like you, where you've been like you're about as
just keep going.
Okay. You're about like as involved as you can be.
Right.
It's just like like maybe without actually becoming like an actual minister, but just as like a church attendee, like a church member.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers, youth group, Wednesday nights, Sunday nights, like you're there serving.
Right.
All like, weekly, multiple days a week for how long?
Yeah.
And so it's like, as soon as, it's just crazy how that works. As soon as like you say, hey, I need a break, and you take a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden you're just like, you're not the same person anymore. You're backsliding somehow.
Yeah, you're backsliding, or he never asked you to do less, only more.
Yeah.
You just need to like have more long suffering.
Yeah.
And it's like, where's the grace in that statement?
That's so true. Where is the grace in that? Yeah. It's so crazy how like when, because you're talking about how you feel like you're not being fed, right? And I've been there too. I'm sure Joseph has felt the same. I mean, we've talked about it a lot on here.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like that feeling you're in service and you're just kind of like looking around and like, what am I actually doing?
Right. Yeah.
Like, what am I actually gaining from all this? I feel like I'm literally just a spectator. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe, I mean,
I'm just going through the motions.
Yeah, that's what you're told. It's like, oh no, like you just gotta change your attitude, you just gotta change the way you think, like you just gotta be, I don't know. Like somehow it's like your fault.
And
to a degree, it can be your fault for sure. Like obviously attitude is everything.
Yeah.
But
well, I think sometimes, and maybe I'm wrong, but in church, it's not okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
But it's totally okay to not be okay and to just need time.
Holy crap.
Right?
Yeah, dude.
It's okay to not be okay. And to be like, I need to step back.
Yeah.
I really need to step back from my mental health, for my spiritual health,
Yes.
for like my emotional health, like I need to step back. I mean, heck, like I didn't go to jujitsu today at noon because like my heel was hurting me. And I was like, oh, I needed to take a day off for my physical health.
Yeah.
Would I have loved to show up today? Sure. But I did what was best for me.
Yeah,
Because if I showed up and I just was at the grindstone, then I might be out for longer.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so that's the same thing is like, if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you're going to, if you don't take a break by choosing to, you're going to take a break because you have to.
Yeah.
Right. By being forced to take a break. And I think that's ended up what happened. We were grinding so long, or we felt like we were grinding so long in ministry and just not feeling looked after and not feeling like, and maybe this is selfish, but what about us?
For sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I need a break and you're telling me like God never asked you to do less. He only asked you to do more. I need a break.
Right.
You know, where's my support? Where is my grace? Where like is the way I'm feeling not valid?
Right.
Because the way you're making me feel, it feels like something's my fault. Like the way I'm feeling is not valid. It's not my fault. It's not okay to feel this way. You need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You need to change your thinking. Zig Ziglar has a quote. He says, sometimes you need to do a checkup from the neck up and to get rid of your stinking thinking. And my youth pastor would tell me that when I was in youth. And I was just like, dude, I get it. Sometimes as a kid you need that, but like sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah.
And when you're told not no, but when you're told like that's not the right thing, that's not what God would have you do, or I'll be praying that God gives you the strength to overcome
like
this.
Basically guilt tripping you.
Yes.
To not be able to rest.
And what's even more frustrating is that oftentimes the solution that they offer is for you to get even more plugged in.
Yeah.
It's like, start going to these to the youth group or to the small groups or life group or
connection is important.
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's true. Like your feelings are whack. Like sometimes you can go to church and you're just not there. And and that's just life in general. Like you can't live life based on your feelings, obviously, all the time.
True.
But when you're sitting in service after service after service and serving like
for 10 years.
Yeah.
Or even just honestly doing that for 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being consistent like that.
And not having a break.
Yeah.
And then when you ask for a break or just say that I need a break, that like you're guilt tripped.
Or it's an inconvenience even. Like, okay, but you need to find a replacement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's just, man, there's just something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. It feels, that's something we've talked about a lot on here, where it feels very Pharisee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's those things that sound like a Pharisee organization where there's so much attention and focus on the organization itself that the actual spiritual health of the believer is just kind of like tossed aside.
Yep.
As soon as they don't fit your need.
As soon as they don't tote the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as their battery's empty, they just, let's dump this one out. Let's put another one in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And then to even further say that they're backsliding.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. I haven't been here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So that is the kind of thing that can just be so dangerous for people who are in church for a long time, because that's where church hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people experience church hurt. And then if there's someone that's like that, right, who's gone through that whole process and they don't have like a solid foundation in their faith themselves, then when they go through an experience like that and they experience church hurt, it's so much easier to leave the faith and be like, oh, then you associate, yes, like church and their mistakes with God,
yes,
and with your faith, and it's like I don't want anything to do with it.
And it's so easy to like confuse the two.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because like in a way, it's kind of brainwashing.
Yeah.
Because you're like the church leadership is the voice of God or the authority of God, and you must fall in line with this authority.
Mm-hmm.
But people are flawed, and humans are flawed, and the organization is flawed.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not told that.
Right.
You're not told that at all.
Right.
And you're told that you just need to submit.
Right.
You need to submit and you need to fall in line. And
it's like when the church organization steps out of line of the authority of the word of God, that's where it can be challenged.
Right.
It's like,
well, when ego or pride gets in the way.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's like, well, my organization that I've helped to build, you as a volunteer should do your duty. It's like, let's just run a scenario, right? Let's just say that any time throughout those 10 years, someone would have just, I don't know, invited you guys to dinner or coffee or lunch or something. And just been like, hey, I just want to check up and I want to really see, like, I want to really, whatever scenario it is that would really make you feel like you're actually being listened to. Like you could actually confide and say, I really enjoyed X, Y, and Z about the church, but it's really difficult for us because, everything you just mentioned.
And feel like you can speak freely.
And feel like you can speak freely without being judged.
Without being judged, yeah.
Or berated, or that, let me ask, what would that have done for your development or your feeling as
Yeah, that would have made a big impact, right? Because a lot of it, we would have like big group things. Like, okay, well, children's ministry is going to go meet we rented out the swimming pool for this weekend. So yeah, come and have some burgers and hot dogs and swim at the pool for free.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, cool. This is fun. I can take my kids to it and stuff, but that's just a big group thing. Or you go to like these leadership meetings and it's like, yeah, food is served, but you're there for training on how to train your team. Or thank you for serving. Here's a gift certificate to the church coffee shop.
Been there, man.
Yeah.
Been there.
I'll do it right there, dude.
Yeah.
And okay, we've gotten some pushback from the episodes we've done talking about this stuff because it can come across as if we're dissing or hating or whatever on the church, which I can see how it could come across that way.
Right.
I think that our heart really is to dig down to these really nuanced distinctions between the church body, as in body of Christ, and the body of believers, and the church organization, which is the vehicle by which we all meet as believers.
Sure.
Just happens to be Sunday morning. Right?
Yeah.
I think that when we look at what Jesus modeled and talked about in the Gospels, and his care and love for the person, right? He leaves the 99 to go after the one. That type of mentality, that type of teaching that we see. It's so interesting to me how, of course, we know no one's perfect, but it's very interesting to me how we hear these stories like this from people who have a very consistent resume or whatever of serving true service, right? Like you really seem to have cared growing up. You seem to have really cared. You came back to church in your early 20s, which not a lot of people do.
Right.
And it seems like you were really genuine in your faith and your service and your belief. Okay, if we can check that box, it's wild to me that the church organization will do all these different things, have you do all these different things, yet leave out the thing that Jesus saw as most important, which was the condition of your heart. When that starts to happen to people that are the most devoted to trying to help, that's a serious problem.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
When you feel like I don't even want to go to church anymore because I'm just going to get thrown into another Serve 101 class.
Yeah.
And I'm going to repeat this cycle over again.
Yep.
When I'm getting more rest spiritually and holistically out of just a day where I can chill.
Yeah. I get my Sabbath. I feel my emotional and mental health is great.
Yeah. Dude, which people forget is one of the 10 commandments.
Yeah.
Just take a Sabbath. That's something I've been actually trying to work on recently because you have to have that.
And how many people that go to church on a regular basis, Saturday is a lot of people's Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right? It is. Dude, I work on Saturdays. I work Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
So like, where's my Sabbath? It has to be Sunday.
Yeah.
So is your Sabbath on this day of worship? What comes more important? Right? Is the Sabbath more important than like your day of worship? Isn't every day supposed to be a day of worship?
I was going to say,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When we talk, like, even we say those things like, oh, it's the day of worship. Like,
that's actually really funny how, I mean, because in the Gospels, the Pharisees were like sticklers on the Sabbath, dude. Like, if you did anything on the Sabbath, I mean, dude, you were
even work or teach.
Yeah.
Or worship or teach.
Yeah. I feel like we're almost like completely opposite now, where the Sabbath is like completely forgotten.
You got to grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just got to grind.
Western culture, man.
Yep.
Hustle.
Man.
I think what was interesting when you were talking about all those things, it reminded me of a lot of stories I've heard from people who've got burnt out in American corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're working a corporate job, corporate career. And there's this hustle, work the weekends, work your nights, like do whatever to get ahead. And after a while, they just get burned out.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way that the church nonprofit organization in America is structured and run, it's very, very similar to general corporations, businesses. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing objectively.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting to see, like, throughout history, the gathering of believers has taken many, many different forms. Underground, house, building, like huge cathedrals, right? Like barns.
Yeah.
It just, we understand that the place of meeting is not as important as the meeting of believers itself.
Correct.
Right? We understand that.
Right.
But it's just interesting to see how your experience and a lot of other people's experience of getting burned out in the church organization tends to match really closely with people who are overworked in the American worldly kind of hustle culture.
Yeah.
And it really begs the question of, like, how much is our church organizational structure simply just built or modeled, maybe subconsciously even, off of corporate culture? I mean, we talk about growth, we talk about numbers, we talk about how many people or how much tithe we got or how much this or that. How many people came to this event? Did we get this event on video? Can we use it for a promo? That's all stuff that a normal business does.
Right.
And again, objectively, not wrong. But when that comes before the heart of your congregation and you're using that hustle mindset as an objective to reach more people's hearts, how does that make sense biblically? How does that make sense when you're leaving behind the people that are currently in your church and you're using that as an excuse to go after people in your community?
In a way, it'd be like companies that use like really cheap or slave labor to like make their products.
Exactly.
That's sometimes what the church does to their volunteers, man.
That's very true.
It's
very true.
And it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about because I think that we all genuinely care. Like we just all spent 30 minutes talking about how great of an experience we had growing up.
Yeah.
How many awesome
programs were in the church.
We're in the church, are in the church. And I think people listening can sometimes just get stuck on, they're just bashing or whatever. But there's so many things that we got out of our youth growing up. I mean, it kept me out of so much trouble. It gave me so much stability and structure, which I'm so grateful for. And it sounds like you are too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to feel threatened. That's what I'm getting at. Is you don't have to feel threatened by just simply poking around and asking the questions of, if people like Brandon are feeling like they can't get what they need out of church as it is, what's wrong with just taking a step back and looking at how we're running things?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
But I understand how people can feel threatened because
take an actual, like, non-biased look at it. Like, there must be something that we're doing wrong. It's not the people that are leaving, because those people served for such a long time for some reason, right? And then they're leaving, and you're saying that they're the ones backsliding. Or what about, are they hurt? Have we looked at that maybe? Have we done something maybe to do that? You know, a lot of corporations will look at, like, well, let's look at what we're doing. What's causing, like, poor performance, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like the employees at the bottom, but a lot of times it has to do with, like, changing stuff up top, right?
Yeah.
And then you change the stuff up top and how that affects the people on the bottom, and productivity can increase, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So true. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, in business, we kind of talked about this recently. Like, it just seems like within the organizational church, a lot of times the success of a church is measured by how many people are going. Right? If you have a church that has had 50 people for 10 years, it's like, oh, they're probably not doing very well.
What do you talk about on your weekly business meeting? How many people did we have in church? How many guests?
Yeah.
Who's calling the guests?
Dude, you know that's like, you know, they're like, churches look at that.
Yep.
Pastors look at that.
They look at the numbers.
Yeah. And so it's just, when the church follows the corporate model, then we've talked about this, how it only makes sense for you to have consumer Christians.
Yeah.
It only makes sense for them to behave like customers.
Yep.
And so, obviously, if it, like, I mean, it just, also too, there's such a, when it becomes about numbers, obviously it's like the whole focus is about reaching non-believers, right? Like,
correct.
Getting people who don't believe to come to church. And that's like a lot of like times, that's what the whole thing is built on.
Yeah. So it is kind of a numbers thing.
It is a numbers thing.
Right.
Yeah, it is a numbers thing. And so it's just, I think of that Dallas Willard quote all the time where he says, the goal is not to make converts and just let discipleship happen, but to make disciples.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Converts happen.
Right.
Like, so oftentimes we're so focused on getting more people in, and it becomes about numbers.
And then nobody's discipled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one's being actually discipled. And that's what leads to church burnout. That's what leads to people feeling like they're not being fed.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to add to that I heard Dallas Willard say too on that point was talking about how many of the disciples that were a part of the initial 12 that were following Jesus really weren't sure if he was Lord.
Right.
But they accepted him as teacher.
Yeah.
First.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we a lot of times do the opposite, where we expect you to accept Christ first.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, okay, well now, hopefully sometimes we'll teach you about it, and disciple you. But it's just interesting to me. Obviously it's important for people to get saved. What I'm saying is, like, it's just interesting to me that Jesus would take some of his disciples and be like, well, who do you guys think I am? Mm-hmm. Why? Oh, well, some people think this, some people think that, some people think you're Elijah, whatever. And then you hear Peter say, like, oh, well, you're Lord, you're the Messiah, you are him.
Yeah.
And he's commended for that faith, right? Like, that faith is important. But there were so many other times where Jesus was so patient with all the disciples for those 3 years. He was ministering with them, even up to the point where he died on the cross, and then Thomas was doubting his death, his resurrection.
Right.
And he literally, like, hey, this whole appearance just so Thomas could
stick your finger in my hand.
Literally, like this is how much I care about you.
Yeah.
Because that's what that says, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we put so much emphasis on getting the numbers in because in our mindset and our probably good intentions for most churches is, well, we can just get them in, then, eventually they'll get discipled. But
that'll be someone else's job.
That eventually tends to not happen so eventually as we think it does. And so I just wonder what it would look like if not necessarily that we have a whole church dedicated to, oh, we only do discipleship, we don't evangelize, or we only do discipleship, we don't do this or that. It's like, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just say, treat people normally and say, hey, listen, we are trying to grow as an organization and we'd appreciate you helping to serve, but we don't want that to happen at the detriment of your soul and your heart.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And at any time, if you feel like it is, please let us know because we don't want you to get to a point where you're hurting spiritually. What a different concept to lay down.
I don't know if I like, at least not any I can remember. Like, I don't know if I can remember like a pastor ever saying that to me, like in all the years that I served. I mean, I'm sure like maybe like a few here and there, but the fact that they can't even think of one instance is crazy.
What if they just made the small group leaders the greeters? So then the people that you're actually going to be discipled with or meet with, the people that you meet when you first show up, because you run through so many different people when you walk into most churches. You got the greeter, then you go to the newcomers gathering. You're never going to see that guy at the front of the newcomers gathering again after you go to those first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You're not going to know that guy from Joe, right? And then it's like, well, let's send you to the small group connection place where you're going to meet all the different small group people. And you've met 18, 19, 20 different people by the time like you might connect with somebody who you could relate to in like a discipleship type way or a big connection small group type way, right? Whereas if the leaders did what leaders do and lead and they stepped up and they were like, I'll be the guy who's at that newcomers gathering. Because if we're going to need to meet new people, maybe I should be the one there at the newcomers gathering, right? Meeting these people that need to be plugged in and connected instead of it going through the hands of 7, 8, 9 different people and people getting lost in the cracks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah. I'm sure there's, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you could, I don't know, structure service or move things around to help this situation, like this problem that we're talking about. But I think the whole thing centers on when it becomes about the organization itself. That's when you have the problem. That's when you have believers, like long-term believers, feeling empty. That just sucks.
Yeah,
it honestly just sucks. Like if you're going to church like all your life, and I mean even just for like a year, like you said, and you're just serving so much, and it's just taking it out of you. And then as soon as you take a break, and it's like, oh, he's backsliding. Like that's a crazy thing, dude. It's crazy that happens. It's crazy that happens. I remember there was one. There's a youth. So I served in youth for a while, and there was a time where the youth pastor, like before service, gathered all like the leaders in the room before the service, and he went around in a circle and had us each. And these are all like leaders who've been there for even longer than I had. Like I had served like for maybe like a year. And there are other people there, like my age, that have been there for years and years. And so the youth pastor went around to each leader and was like, I want you to write down on your phone, like as many students' names as you can, like full, like first and last name. And so like, some leaders wrote down like 1 or 2. I wrote down like 2 or 3, like, and then the whole thing was to make us feel guilty that we could only remember like 2 or 3 first and last names of like all the students. I'm talking like 7, like maybe, I don't know, 60, maybe not that much. I don't know if it's that big. 50 students, maybe. But, and yeah, the whole thing was just like, I mean, dude, he ripped into us. Like, it wasn't just like, like, guys, you guys need to like do better or whatever. It was like like you guys are failing kind of like speech.
It's like your performance report.
Yeah. Dude, and it was like, dude, first of all, dude, you're getting paid to do this. Yeah. Like, you're here getting paid. I mean, we are all here. Like, I literally like got off my job, changed and came straight here. Like,
right.
So dude, the fact that you're just saying that to us is insane. Yeah. So it's those kind of things. It's like, dude, all these people here are there on their own, like they're volunteering. And you're gonna yell at all of us like that? Like, where's the grace? Yeah. Where's the grace in that? Yep. And that's like, those are the kinds of things that that fires me up, dude. Yeah. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
But it's so real. That's like so valid and I so relatable too. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, dude, I mean, then like all those leaders in the room how many of them actually left that feeling like actually guilty, like, dang, I guess I'm not doing enough.
And like ashamed.
Right. And ashamed.
Right. And it's like, shame is not healthy.
No,
right?
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you said your brother went to SAGU too?
Yeah, he went to SAGU.
Middle brother or younger brother?
Youngest, yeah. Youngest brother.
Wow. What like time period, do you remember?
Let's see. He's 4 years younger than me. But I graduated a year early. So I think he graduated in 2008 or 9. And he went to Master's Commission, which is like a Assembly of God, like church internship type program. And then he went to SAGU the year after that. So he probably went 2010 to 2013-ish, or maybe 2011 to 2014, right around there.
So just a couple years before I got there.
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
Right. I think he went during the time where SAGU lost, their football team lost by the most points that a college football team has ever lost to.
Really?
I think so.
Jeez.
I think so. I think in like college football history, they lost by like 100-something points.
No way.
Maybe not that many, but like it was a big number. He's like, oh yeah, like that happened. Robert said, SAGU, like their football team lost by the most points ever by like any other college football team. I was like, oh wow,
it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, he put his time in there. So he graduated in 3 years. He had he got 2 bachelors and associates and like 3 or 4, maybe 5 different certifications.
Dang, holy crap!
Like there was so many accolades on his graduation announcement. There was not enough lines for them all to fit.
Dang,
yeah,
overachiever, man,
dude.
That's awesome.
Well, he I think what he said is he lined up his degrees so that multiple courses covered like, the same,
sure.
It killed 2 birds with 1 stone multiple times, but also figured like, oh, well, all these classes I'm taking also count for this certification. Right? And so I think he only ended up having to take like 1 or 2 extra classes to like also get like an associate's or also get that second bachelor's or something like that. Because I think he got like business management, general church studies, and something else, and then a bunch of different certifications.
Yeah. Dang, that's legit.
Yeah.
But would you happen to know what dorm he stayed on?
Oh man, I know he was RA for like his last 2 years. Man,
if I list them off, do you think you would recognize
yes.
them? All right, Bridges.
Okay, I remember that Bridges does sound familiar. What are the other ones?
There's Bridges. There's Teeter.
Okay.
There's Collins. Savell.
Sure. I'm pretty sure it's Bridges. I'm pretty sure it's Bridges.
Do you know what floor he was on?
I helped him move in his first year.
Was it a pretty nice dorm? Like,
Man, I was only at his dorm once when I helped him move in.
Elevators,
like the tallest, one of the tallest buildings. Elevators.
okay,
I don't remember what floor it was on.
Twin building across from it.
Maybe. This was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. So yeah, I don't remember all the details. But I think Bridges is right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he was RA there and everything.
Do you remember going up one flight of stairs to the second floor?
I think it may have been on first floor.
Okay.
I think it was first floor.
So
we were at Bridges' second floor, dude.
Okay, Bridges' second floor?
I just had to ask.
That's so good.
Dang.
I wonder if he was like right below you guys.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
He was probably there. Like
I knew so many people that like my age or a little older that went to SAGU too.
Really?
And a little bit younger. Yeah. Like our church sent people to SAGU.
I'm sure.
School. Just
Launching them. Our church sent people to SAGU.
Sure, dude. We had a
well, our lead. So the pastor of my church ended up, or the original senior pastor, his son-in-law became pastor when he left. I think he was superintendent of North Texas District.
Nice.
Vic Schober. So, and then Kermit Bell became the treasurer of North Texas District, I think.
Okay.
For AG.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but those guys, I think that's what their titles were. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I was at a different church at that time, but yeah. I know a lot of people that went to SAGU.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So in at SAGU, a lot of the floors they'll take on these names.
Yeah.
So that's where the whole second floor comes from.
Okay, yeah.
Second floor. Everyone just calls it second floor. So before that, there was and some of these names have generations.
Sure.
Yeah, so before, I would say Joseph is almost kind of last generation ish. Yeah. And I was kind of in between, and there's a couple generations before us, I think. So your brother was probably there right around the second, the whole. At first, it was called I Am Second.
Yeah.
The name of the second floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I remember that whole movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
the I Am Second movement. Yeah.
Gosh, I remember that too. Wow. But yeah, so then the name just kind of caught on over the years, second floor, and that's
sure
kind of how it stuck. But
yeah,
I'm sure your brother was there while some OG second floor
probably
were there, dude.
So our whole thing with this is on our second floor hall, we had a bunch of guys that were super, super close and, stay up late talking, hanging out, going to eat together, all this stuff. And we really felt having seriously deep conversations about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And we all got really close. And so, I really felt that was a time where I could genuinely be honest about, what I was thinking about or doubts or struggles or victories or whatever, a genuine community.
Well, yeah. You're able to be completely vulnerable.
Yeah. When I was on the hall, I felt safe from the world. Whatever had happened that day, I knew I was good. And so we started Zach and I started, we kind of moved to Austin, and a few of our other second floor friends are here too.
Okay.
And so we kind of started to have some frustrations around, we want, coming out of SAGU, right? We got these degrees and this experience and this knowledge and but how can we make a difference in the quote real world without being in a direct ministry role? Because that's what's kind of taught a lot, especially at SAGU. It's a big pressure to be a pastor, missionary, admin, work at a church somewhere, do some kind of ministry, direct ministry thing. And so the whole idea behind this podcast is really to sit with different people and talk about life, because I think you can learn so much from people's stories, first of all. But when we meet someone like you who's had experience in church, who's kind of gone through some different experiences inside of church too, it gives us a better understanding of not just what's going on at our church organization that we're a part of, right? What's going on in the greater kind of Austin area of believers. And our ultimate goal is to have a coffee shop or just some kind of place where we could kind of create the same environment and then just like let people connect, right? Like where people, like say you walked into a coffee shop and, you know, instead of when you're taking your drink, instead of taking like a number, you took like a card that said, you know, I don't want to be disturbed today. I'm working on something, or I'm open to a stranger sitting with me, or I'm open to meeting someone new today, or I'm open to a deep conversation or a debate type thing. And so you just stick on your table. And so when people walk in, you can immediately look around and see who's working on something that doesn't want to connect, who's open to a stranger sitting with them to meet someone new, and who wants to like have a deep conversation or have a debate or something like that. Some kind of environment that fosters community, because I feel like our generation in particular really struggles with that. Really struggles with finding a place that we can really have that, I guess, like a place where we can get to know people to then have that vulnerability, because it just takes time, right?
Right.
Yeah. When you're hanging out at jiu-jitsu, it's great because you can do an activity and then afterwards you just start talking, right? Talk about work and about life and stuff. And then you're there for like 5-10 minutes, and then someone will kind of like drop a level deeper. Right. It's like, oh, hey, this is what's going on with an injury, or this is what's going on in my mental health or at work or at home. And then it's like, oh, it kind of unlocks it for other people, and they can feel a little bit safer and stuff like that too. And so we feel like specifically discipleship can be accelerated when there's a place like that for people to be really vulnerable. Like I think AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a good example of this, where they have that anonymity factor, but they sit down and they're like, hey, I'm Joseph and I'm a recovering alcoholic. Right? And this is how my recovery is going. Sure. And Dallas Willard, one of the guys that we read about a lot, he talks about, well, what if we just sat down and said, well, I'm a recovering sinner. Sure. Here's how my recovery is going. Instead of being like, oh, hey, Brandon, how you doing? Yeah. Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. Really? Really? Because like most weeks I'm usually dealing with some kind of thing that I wouldn't mind talking about. I wouldn't mind walking through with someone. So that's kind of our mission sort of behind this whole thing. Yeah.
It's hard even on Sunday mornings. You show up and everyone all smiles and you shake everyone's hand and like, how's it going? And it's like, if you were to like actually say how you were feeling sometimes, you'd be like, well, go talk to that guy.
Yes.
You know?
You just need to get plugged in more.
You just need to get plugged in more, or, hey, you know, but I think a lot of that Sunday morning chit chat is just all superficial. It's so superficial. And that's really, really unfortunate, because some people, why do they go to church? They go to church because they're hurting or they're missing something. And then you go somewhere and it looks like everyone is
perfect.
Is basically like just in a default skin, right? They're all wearing like the khakis and they're wearing the polos, and you know they got their wife and 2 kids, and it's just like they're all defaults, right?
Default skin. I haven't heard that one yet.
Right, and it's like, how are you going to go in and be vulnerable like that? And it's like when you try to, it's like people don't know how to respond to it, or it's like, oh, go see that guy, or maybe go talk to that guy. And then you're going up to the front to some like 70-year-old person at the front who's going to pray for you, who you don't relate to at all.
No.
Right?
And then they're going to give you that old pat on the shoulder afterwards, like that fixed everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I believe in the power of prayer, yeah.
And they forgot your name right as you left.
But like, I appreciate someone that I could build a relationship with, that I could trust enough to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah. And okay. They're like, I'm sure there are people out there. I'm sure there are leaders out there that are not like that.
Of course.
Yes.
Go the extra mile, that make like
that realize it's a problem, and they try to be the change that they want to see.
For sure.
But I think the problem is that the church environment is not. I don't know how to say this.
It's just not conducive for that kind of. It's not conducive for that kind of connection.
Yes.
It's just not.
The church environment makes it so much easier to be that person that just on to the next.
It's like like a Stepford home.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a model home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a model home, and like default, like everyone's just there as like a prop almost. Right?
Yeah. Dude, I know we're going a little late, but
it's okay. He doesn't have a wife and kids to get home.
Or 3 dogs.
But just, I mean, maybe we can like kind of end on this a little bit, but it's just interesting to me, like sitting here talking about this now, like I'm just thinking about my personal experience and how, like you guys, like I've grown up in church all my life, and obviously, like we talked about in the beginning, we had a lot of amazing experiences, things I would never take back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I found that as I started to mature in my faith a little bit, that it wasn't like when we talk about being fed.
Yeah.
The services, the serving, like all those things, the youth camps, like those started to not like every once in a while, like I'll feel fed and like a sermon was really good or like, you know, I was just in the moment, like in worship. And everything. Like every once in a while you get that.
It felt on fire.
That feeling. Yeah. You feel on fire.
Yeah.
There's that.
It's a good church.
I know, right?
But I found, especially later on in my high school years, like junior, senior year, like I had a really close group of friends, and it was the times outside of church where, like you talked about, where we're just talking and like all of a sudden things just get real and like you're talking about God and like you're having these deep conversations and you're being vulnerable. Those moments, I felt more fed than like almost anything ever in my entire life. Like I just felt like, oh my gosh, like this is what it feels like to be in a community of people that is pursuing Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like together we had all these questions about God, like about the Bible, predestination, free will, like all these deep questions. And like we would just sit down and like in things that we're struggling with, pornography, like I don't know, money, like just like everything, right? You were vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And it was those times that I felt the most fed.
Yeah.
And even on SIU too, like dude, we had chapel Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like and then church on Sunday. So I mean that's about as much service as you can get out of like a church environment.
Wow.
But out of all those things, like sure, there were a few chapels probably.
Yeah.
Definitely. That like I was like, dang, this is really good. Like that was a good word. Like I feel fed by that. 100%. But like
the most
times, yes, dude, the most I ever felt fed were the late nights in the dorm rooms. And like just so that community that we had, like the brotherhood, dude. And dude, what's so important about this is that we're talking about the hall and how it created that space, right? Like for us to have that environment. But dude, it's not about the hall. No, like wherever we went, like that community, that sense of community and that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I feel like my soul feels fed. Like, that went with us everywhere we go. And that
Waffle House, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, didn't matter.
Yes. Just like a jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's those times where, I mean, it takes time. Like you have to invest time in people to experience that kind of community and relationship, I guess. But like, imagine if like we just assumed it was all because of the hall. And like every year, like, dude, we got to re-enroll.
It's anointed.
Like we're not gonna ever experience this again unless like unless we're on the hall. You know,
we would miss it. Yeah, we would.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we're just getting like our whole goal was to get everybody at SAU on the hall. That'd be crazy. Yeah. Because obviously it's not about the hall. Yeah. Like obviously the hall is a great tool. Like for sure. You need a space. Yeah. Yes. Which is why church buildings are amazing.
Yes.
They're amazing because they provide a space. Mm-hmm. But it's not about the space.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yes, dude. It's about the community,
It's about the community.
And if we would have made the hall the priority, we would have missed that the community aspect was actually the priority.
Yes.
That was the primary thing. So that's what we're saying is what we feel like with the church building, that can become, and the church organization, that can become the primary focus, which makes the true primary focus of building community to create disciples become secondary.
Yeah.
And it's like,
or create relationships.
Yeah.
Like, disciples, but you could, a genuine relationship where you both care about each other.
Yes.
Right? And you're both feeding off each other. Because, you know, the discipler is probably also being fed during the discipling. It's not just a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. So are you like still pretty involved with church now? Or?
No, we like it. So at the end of 2017, when we like stepped down from leadership, we like slowly just kind of would go to church like once every other week and then once a month. We haven't been in a long time.
Okay.
Just because it's like, it's good to have a day off on Sundays. Yeah. It's good to have.
So here's my question then. How have you felt since then? Like, as far as like, if you could just be open like about your faith and like.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I still like.
Do you feel any less of a Christian?
You know, that is an interesting question. And I think that I know that it's like you're not supposed to forsake meeting together. That's like
absolutely
something that's in the word, right? However, I kind of think like which one? Day of rest, my only day off, meeting together on my day of rest, my only day off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, do I feel less of a Christian? I would say no. Do you have to go to church on Sundays to be a Christian? Am I being fed less than I was? Sure. I'm not going to church on Sundays, right? Mm-hmm. You know? So I'm not like, I'll like listen to worship music and I'll have conversations with my brother, my wife, my dad, my mom, who are all like still really involved in church, right? Yeah. But do I miss going to church on Sunday mornings? I don't, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes do I think about it? Sure. I'm like, oh yeah, I miss corporate worship. That's an awesome thing. Sure. You know, whenever it's like everyone's involved at the same time singing and stuff like that. That's really cool.
Sure.
Right?
There's something special about that.
There is something 100%. Special about that. But I couldn't say that I miss it.
Mm.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and like you say, like, we throw around that phrase, like, don't forsake the gathering of believers, right? But it's like,
yeah.
Okay. So how many people does it take to make a gathering?
Right.
Because there's another verse he talks about where 2 or 3 are gathered, he's there.
Yep.
So, you know, when you're on the conversation with your brother, your family.
Yeah.
Of course, you just mentioned there's distinctions to be made, of course. But based on the history that you just gave us, what I think Zach was getting at is like, this has probably been more of a healing time for you than after you getting
for sure. I would say that, you know, I've heard the term like evangelical, and I wouldn't say that like that's necessarily where I fit. Right. Being an evangelical. I would say that I'm more or less, and being in my 30s, a lot of people like go through deconstruction phases.
Sure.
Where they can deconstruct stuff. And some of that has to do with like deconstructing faith or deconstructing how you were raised. Habits and stuff like that. So it doesn't just have to be reconstructing your faith. It can be reconstructing like, these are things that my parents or my grandparents did that were kind of messed up. And it's like, I need to deconstruct that and figure out what to take and what to leave. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of time in the past, like 2024. Yeah. So in the past, like 7 years, I've had a lot of time to like kind of deconstruct what I like believe and what's right and what I was told was right and what's like not actually right, you know? And you know, one of my brothers was in church ministry for a long time, after he went to SAGU, youth pastor, then he became executive assistant to the head pastor, managing 5 campuses and stuff like that. So he was like deep in the whole church business, right? And hearing his perspective, you know, and it was like a lot of that, hearing from him, his point of view, and like his perspective was able to kind of help me kind of view things in a different light, because he was like able to see things from my point of view as his brother. Even though he was still deeply involved, he wasn't like completely like wool covered over his eyes. He could kind of see what was happening, but also kind of stuck, You know, he lived. The house that he was living in was owned by the church, and so it's like, what happens if he loses his job? He also loses his home.
Yeah.
You know, so you're kind of there and you're kind of stuck, and it's like, and now he works. He works in tech now. You know, so he's out and stuff like that. But it was a struggle for him for a while.
Yeah.
You know, because he felt like he was trapped. He was working like 60, 70 hours a week when it was like, oh yeah, your salary. Right? Yeah. They wanted his wife to basically get 2 employees for the price of one. They wanted her to like run stuff and do stuff and commit to stuff. And it's like, hey, I'm the employee. You know, like she's not. You know, and maybe that was a generational thing, like that. Maybe the boomer pastor, it was just like, oh, that's how things were back then, so that's how things are now. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was no, this is how the church wants you to do it. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, having like that time to kind of like think about things and deconstruct has been enlightening. Do I miss going to church Sunday morning? Sure, sometimes, but I don't think it's going to be something that at least in the near future, I'm going to like say, hey, I'm going to start going full in. I've always been this way where it's like, I'm all the way in or I'm all the way out.
I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah,
man. And if I started going to church, it would be I'm all in right away, right now. And like, I couldn't do that to my wife, honestly. And I don't know if I could do it to myself, because it'd be like a train wreck of emotion and whatnot, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a delicate thing.
It is. It's delicate.
Seriously.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of discipleship, I'm sure, like, I would imagine you have plenty of opportunities within your jiu-jitsu, like in the way, and just like the way you coach. Right. And like your character, I'm sure that there's plenty of opportunity to.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of students, and I pour into my students a lot too, with like different life advice. A lot of the students I teach at my Taekwondo school are youth, right? Yeah. So I teach a lot of high schoolers, and a lot of middle schoolers, and a lot of elementary kids, a whole lot. And
dude, that's ministry.
It is. Yeah,
it is. That's ministry.
And it, like, I'm able to, like, we have like different topics that we focus on, like, throughout the year, right? And we call them tenets of Taekwondo, like values, basically, characteristics. And we just talked about strength. And a lot of people view strength as something that's viewed physically, right? And a lot of people would expect, as a martial arts school, that when they talk about strength, they're like, oh, we got to build strength. I got to work harder on my technique. I got to do this. And it's like, yes, most people view it that way. But real strength is like discipline, and not just physical discipline, but all-encompassing discipline.
Very true.
So in order to get physically stronger, you must be mentally disciplined to eat right, to exercise right. But man, that is really, really, really hard to do. Yeah. So takes emotional strength to get past that, right? And where your motivation fails, your discipline will succeed. And that's where strength comes from, right? And that's where I gave my students this talk last week about that, about outward strength is great, but you got to have that mental discipline. And when that mental discipline gets really, really hard and it's grinding on you, that's where your emotional strength has to kick in. Calm your emotions and say, you know what? When I'm not motivated, I got to do it anyway. Yeah.
What a great lesson. And very true.
Yeah, man. Gosh. Well, thank you for giving your time tonight. I know it's a lot you got done coaching at like 8:00 tonight. You came straight here. Yeah. So seriously, it means a lot. And you tell your story too and share. And I know that's going to help some people to hear as well, your story, and both in martial arts and in church.
Sure.
So thanks again, and check out his Taekwondo school, Round Rock Taekwondo. And if you're in the market for buying a domain name, Round Rock Taekwondo is ranking organically on Google first place. So it's got some value. If you're in the market for that,
looking for some puppies to adopt.
If you're looking for some puppies to adopt,
lovable.org.
if you're looking for some advice on facial hair, it's a multi-talented guy right here.
That's right.
Thanks for coming, dude. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me, man.
Awesome.
I've enjoyed this conversation a lot.
Us too.
Yeah.
Us too. All right. Well, we'll catch you next time on the Second Floor Experience. Peace.
Cool.
Sick.
Cool.
Oh my gosh.
I want to talk to you. Not now. Later. No, now.